What is the least you need for the greatest return on your happiness? That's the question we're asking today on this short talk on Talks with Dr. Shafer. Make sure to subscribe to Talks with Dr. Shafer after the show so that you don't miss any of the inspiring stories we're going to be sharing about amazing people who have reclaimed their stories and built a beautiful future. I'm your host, Dr. Shafer of Talks with Dr. Shafer. I'm a physician, life coach, mom, musician, author, publisher, and I am passionate about storytelling as a tool to help you reclaim your story and build your most beautiful future. And here on Talks with Dr. Shafer, we give you the tools to do just that. Today, I have a question on this short talk. What is the least you need to get the greatest return on your happiness? It may seem like a simple question on the surface, but it's anything but simple. In order to truly answer this question, we have to dissect each key word, starting with you. What is the least you need? We begin with you because a key to getting on the right path in the pursuit of happiness is that it has to be your path. Going down others' paths will only lead to cognitive dissonance, a fancy term that describes the feeling of when what you are doing is not lining up with what you believe in and value. School's back in session, and for those of us with young children, this can bring back memories of our days in school. Many of us had the experience of feeling like an outsider and wanting desperately to fit in. And our attempts to fit in often looked like us looking around at what the other people surrounding us liked, what they wore, ate, what sports they played, what movies and music they liked, and trying on those behaviors and habits like clothes. Even when they didn't fit, our fear of not belonging with our peers meant we often behaved in ways that simply did not fit us. We pretended to like scary movies even when they gave us nightmares. We convinced our parents to buy us the outrageously expensive pair of shoes, no matter how uncomfortable they were, because that was what everyone else was wearing, even when we knew it wasn't in our budget, and really, we cared way more about our family's welfare than what the in crowd at school thought. But we got caught up in the game of fitting in, and we forgot that to truly belong, we first have to understand that we belong to ourselves, and we are responsible for showing up for ourselves first, no matter what. It may sting when the popular kids don't open up a seat at the table for us, but the pain of behaving in a way that doesn't align with our values, that's the kind of thing that will keep us up at night. Those are the memories we will have for decades later, the regrets that we can't take back. Now we are older with vast life experience, and we can see the value of focusing on what you truly need for your happiness. Now to the second most important word in the question. What is the least you need for the greatest return on your happiness? Can you guess what I'm about to say? Least. What is the least you need for the greatest return on your happiness? We've discussed it before here on Talks with Dr. Shafer, but it warrants mentioning again. We only have so much energy, time, and resources, and we can truly only focus on one thing at a time. So if in our efforts to achieve happiness, we invest our time, money, energy, or resources in things that use up more of our resources than they give us back in return, that is a mismatch that will lead to dissatisfaction. What's an example of the least investment for maximal gain? Years ago, I was feeling really stuck. I felt weak. I was having nightmares where I was in a dark tunnel. I could see a light at the end. I could hear every sound around me in the darkness. And I felt a figure approaching. I knew that I needed to run, but my legs felt like tree trunks rooted to the ground. I tried to move them, tried to start to run, but I couldn't move a muscle. Frozen. Stuck. Over and over, I had this dream. There was a time in my life where I was not investing in my happiness, and I needed to start. My body and my mind were telling me that the situation was becoming dire. But I did not have much time, access to resources, or energy. So what could I do? I thought about my dream, about what was right in front of me in my recurrent nightmare. And I saw an opportunity to prove to myself that I was not going to be a victim in that tunnel, that I was going to get out. I had to show myself that my legs could move. I had to run. So I did just that. I started running. Short runs at first. I was slow and winded, but I showed myself that my legs weren't rooted to the ground, that my muscles weren't weak, that my will was just as important as my body, and that I needed to invest in conditioning both of them if I wanted to win the fight for my future. I went from the woman who would joke that I would only run if I was being chased to the woman who was running daily, getting stronger each time I hit the pavement, and proving to myself that I was not stuck and that my power was only limited by my effort and determination. All I needed to achieve this was an investment in my time and a good pair of running shoes. Juxtapose that with the life that I had been a party to leading up to this point that was causing me increasing stress and feelings of living outside of my values. Vacations, boats, dinners, always having to keep up appearances, to maintain the facade of a life that was ill-fitting and causing me a great deal of discomfort, like a bad pair of expensive shoes. So I turned them in for a pair of running shoes, and that life fit me infinitely better. Now, to juxtapose the least amount of effort for the greatest impact, it comes back to the idea of our limited energy. If we can focus our energy and use up the least amount of resources to get to a place where we are experiencing true joy and happiness, we have a greater amount of energy and time to actually experience that happiness. If we aren't swimming against the current in the direction away from our true path, we have more energy when we get to the goal. Now, to the end of our sentence, what is the least you need for the greatest return on your happiness? If you're anything like me, you may be having a realization at this point as to why we've tackled these concepts in the order we have during this short talk. When we aren't diving deep into answering questions by asking questions about the question, by parsing them down and getting really intentional about our language, we may focus on what may superficially seem like the point of the sentence. We may erroneously think that this question is all about the pursuit of happiness. But again, if we seek external sources to find our happiness, we only get further and further away from it. That's why happiness is at the end of the sentence. That's why we start with you. Because happiness is a side effect of doing the work to uncomplicate life, to learn how to conserve our energy for the things that truly matter to us, to learn how to tune out the distractions, the bids for our attention that don't serve us, but rather take us further from the things that truly bring us joy. The boat that you feel you have to use for 4 days a week to justify its expense, but you're missing out on the activities that maybe your kids would rather be doing, or your spouse, like dancing, writing, or hiking. Nothing against a boat. For some, it's a connector, a unifier, but for others, it may be a distraction, and it may be sapping important resources of time, money, and attention. And if you love boating, what do you love about boating? Is it being with family? Is it the sense of floating? Is it associated activities like fishing? Or is it escaping from the shore and what you leave behind there when you're on the water? Once you better understand why you love doing the things you love, you can find even simpler, more direct ways to access those feelings of happiness for moments when you can't feasibly do something like go boating or be surrounded by a group of friends. And knowing yourself so deeply and what fills you up and gives you a sense of happiness and contentment can be the key to resilience in seasons of life that are really challenging, and we have to work intentionally to get back to those positive feelings. Spending the time to honestly assess the possessions, habits, relationships, and routines in your life to distill down to what is truly the least you need for the greatest return on your happiness can help you identify the things that you may have started investing time and resources into to try to find happiness, but that actually caused you stress and pulled you off of your true path. Happiness is yours, no one else's. You can only find it within yourself. And that means you need to do some exploration and examination from time to time to ensure that if you've gone off your path, you take this opportunity to change course. You don't have to keep going as you are if the shoes just simply don't fit. You can change your shoes. You can change your habits and come back to yourself. So, what is the least you need for the greatest return on your happiness? I hope you really take time to examine and consider this question. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please subscribe to the show and join us next time for more inspiring short talks and episodes featuring guests who have incredible stories to share on their path to reclaiming their stories and building beautiful futures for themselves. Thank you for being here, storytellers. Stay safe and take care. I'll talk to you soon.
Everybody's lonely, but you can hold on to me, and I will try to make it right. Everyone needs something. Let me be that one.